Your therapist will hate this idea, but when you need to change and unleash an insane level of drive, this simply works. This is for when change is hard, but necessary. Maybe you've been coasting because life's good, your business is doing well, but you know there's so much more potential inside you and you're waiting for something that will kick you into a different gear of ambition again. Or you're still struggling with that one vice that you said you would quit months ago. Maybe it's nicotine, maybe social media, maybe watching people doing the flippy floppy online and you go to weird websites to watch them do it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Or you have beliefs that you know are holding you back, but a part of you keeps holding on to them. And therefore you make short-term decisions, or you're not trusting relationships, or you keep beating yourself up. Or there's a tough decision that you've been putting off for a long time. Could be firing an employee, going all in on one thing, letting one of your children go because of inflation, whatever. My commitment is that after watching this, you will make one massive change that you've been struggling to make for months, and it'll light a fire under you like you're a redhead in the 16th century during the witch trials. So pick one right now. It could be a vice, a belief, a behavior, or a decision that you've been stuck on for months or even years. And I'll walk you through multiple ideas that will make change inevitable, and each builds on top of the other, with the final ones being very practical ways that you can use to implement this, including the one that's from this mysterious book. But a quick warning, this is very hardcore. And your therapist will probably not approve. They're going to be like, start small, baby steps, and let's talk a little bit more about your feelings and your trauma. And people with fancy psychology degrees will say, well, it's actually not that simple because they know it better. But this simply works, and I'll prove it to you. And if you have real serious problems, go seek professional help. I'm just a dude on the internet. If you're new here, I'm Leon Hendricks. I try to share useful things that I'm learning so we can achieve our goals faster and do more of the things that we actually enjoy. And as you know, everything on this channel is medical advice. The first basic truth is that people only change when they must. Not because they would like to, not because they'd prefer to. For example, for about 3 years, as a teenager, I wanted to start a business. But it was only until I was 20 years old when I was forced to leave Australia at the time, and I had my girlfriend there, and I promised her, hey, I'm going to find a way back. And the only way was to make money online so I could come back on a tourist visa and visit her there, that I actually started a business. It took 3 years, and this just kept happening throughout my life. For example, when I started this YouTube channel, I did have a lot of money on the side because I sold that first business, but it was only until I made some bad financial decisions and I only had 2 months of runway left and I had to make this YouTube channel work so I could make money, that the channel blew up. That's not a coincidence. And you see this with habit changes as well, right? Like how many people smoke until they go to the doctor and the doctor tells them, hey, it looks really bad. And if you keep going, you will not see your grandkids grow up. And it also helps with making decisions. People stay in mediocre or painful relationships only until it's so bad that it becomes unbearable, and that's when they break up. And the same goes for changing your beliefs. I have a couple of friends who were full-on atheists, and they're now Christians, right? Personally, I'm not religious, but I think it's beautiful for them. And think about it in your own life, right? When did you hit a point where you said, no more, I can't do this anymore, and you changed like that? The how-to is never missing for change. It really is just a commitment and a decision to go, you know what? I'll do whatever it takes. And then the how-to gets revealed. We just figure it out from there because we have to. Because when people are put in a position where they must change, they do change. When people are put into a position where they must succeed, they tend to succeed. If they're growth-minded, which I'm assuming you are watching this channel. And I always tell friends of mine when something terrible happens in their business or they're going through a breakup, I'm actually really excited for you. Because you're going to look back in 2 or 3 years from now and you're going to see how much growth this created. Because chances are when you are struggling to change something, you're in the worst spot to be. Because the best spot is right here where things are good, right? There's no need to change. Things are great. When things are really bad, you must change and you make it happen. The worst place to be is this area here where things are fine. And you're never really fulfilled. You're never really where you want to be. But at the same time, they're not bad enough that it forces you to kick into gear and make a change. So we're lucky when life punches us in the face and we just have to make something happen. But what if that never happens? This is what this video is about and the idea of this book. Secondly, we got to understand why we don't change. And I think a common misconception is that change is painful, but that's not actually true because there's lots of change that's pleasurable. If I hired a 5-star chef with my own money and they made you the healthiest meals and you never have to cook again, that would be a complete change in your life, but I don't think you would struggle with that. It wouldn't be bad. You would welcome it. Or if I had a magic wand and you became 10 times more attractive and everyone of the opposite sex just throws themselves at you, then that would probably be a massive change. Or maybe not, because, everyone who's watching this channel is obviously super attractive already, so it won't really make a difference. But imagine it was. It's not like you would be in pain, like, oh my God, this is so painful to change. No, you would enjoy it. The real problem is most change is painful because it requires you to get worse first before you can get better. If you are in a terrible relationship right now and you're ready to break up and you want to be in a happy relationship up here, first you got to break up, and that sends you right down here, right? Breakups are tough, and you're going to face the 8th layer of hell, which is the dating market in 2025, 2026, whatever year we're in. And then only until you got worse can you get better, once you go through all the feelings and look at all the things that you did wrong. The same thing goes with any skill, right? Let's say you're kind of okay at golf, but you hire a coach and it tells you, hey, you have your elbow in a completely wrong position, right? I have no idea about golf, but he's going to correct your form, and initially you're going to get worse. It's not that instantly you have this better swing, but it feels unfamiliar. And then you want to go back to where you used to be. But if you can maintain that pain and allow yourself to suck for a bit longer, that's when you actually improve your form and you end up getting better. I recently had a client of mine who was top-rated surgeon in his city for 6 years straight. And, he's making really good money, but all his friends are billionaires and they just sell their businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's like, you know what? I want to do that. But he's got this high-paying job where he makes $1 million a year. And before he can get there, he's probably going to have to quit if he wants to build a $100 million business, which sends him right down here. But he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't have to, because he's right here. But in order to get there, he has to. That's what makes it so difficult. And the same thing goes for vices like, nicotine pouches or beliefs that are destructive. The reason why you hold on to them is because they give you some sort of benefit. Like beating yourself up feels good because it's what you know and you think you use it as a tool to drive yourself to action. And you're worried that if you let go of it, you're going to lose your drive. And it just feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar. And the withdrawal symptoms of nicotine, I've heard of it from friends. It's not fun. From what I've heard, your brain is going to be mush for a couple of weeks, which is exactly why you do the nicotine, right, in the first place. But that's what's required to get better. This puts us in a bit of a predicament, which is why we get into the behavior change equation. I know it sounds super cheesy, and it is. We love cheese on this channel. The pain equation will make it crystal clear why you're struggling to change that one thing, because it's actually very simple. The simplest way to describe this is with this graph right here. There's the pain of changing versus the pain of staying the same. And you will just simply pick whatever is the lower pain, right? It just makes sense. So if we can increase the pain of staying the same and decrease the perceived pain of changing, that's when change happens. So the question then becomes, how can we engineer this equation so that change becomes inevitable? But I realized it's a little bit too simple, because think about it. People who smoke are constantly bombarded with this massive pain of, if you keep smoking, if you keep staying the same, you will die of lung cancer. You will age rapidly. You will have a hole in your throat, right? Whatever these images are on the package. And the pain of changing, based on smokers who actually have quit, is really only a couple of weeks where you feel agitated and you have withdrawal symptoms. I talked about this book in a previous video where it's helped millions of people quit things like smoking and other vices by just reading the book, because the book uses logic where after reading it, you're just done. So there's a bit more to this. And if you're watching this channel, then one of my skills is to just take other people's ideas and apply them in a different context, also known as theft. But it's not theft if you admit it and you credit who you stole it from. Now, this is going to sound weird, but it makes complete sense. If you look at Hormozi's $100 million offer equation from the book $100 Million Offers, it is the ultimate change agent for, in this case, somebody to buy your offer, right? Buy your products, and therefore take action, make a change. And it's simply, you have a dream outcome, and the higher they perceive the likelihood of achievement, the better. And then it's divided by how long does it take them to get the result, and also how much effort and sacrifice does it take. That's what determines the value of an offer. So if you adjust this equation just a little bit, it makes complete sense. We have a bad outcome. For example, with smoking, you're going to die, right? You're going to get lung cancer. You're not going to see your grandchildren grow up. Multiplied by the perceived likelihood of occurrence. Because how many smokers think, I'm fine. Like somebody else, right? Yeah, it's on these packages, but it's not me. So the higher the perceived likelihood of occurrence, the better. Then we have the time delay, because again, most smokers are like, you know what? I'm fine. Like, life is short. I still have time. And this happens to other people, so it doesn't happen to me. And if it does happen to me, it's only going to be in 30, 40 years from now. So for smokers, we have the time delay, right? Like, I'm fine now. Like, I'll quit later. Like 30 or 40 years, I still got 30 or 40 years until anything might happen. Multiply it with the pain of changing. So if you adjust these properly, you're going to make yourself an offer to change that is so good, you feel stupid staying the same. And I'm going to call it the $100 million pain, the $100 million behavior change. What if I just write a book about it? Huh? What's someone going to do about it? And think about it. Sales is a tool for behavior change, right? When you're on a sales call with someone, you get them to make a decision, right? To move forward, to take an action. And yeah, unfortunately, one of the very effective tools in sales is agitating the pain. And with this, we can get into very practical ways to make change inevitable. But I already hear some of you ask, why not pleasure? Why just pain? And listen, I love the pleasure approach. As you know, this channel is about not just how to achieve your goals faster, but also do it in a way where it's enjoyable and fun. So you're actually fulfilled and you're not miserable, because everyone can be wildly successful and miserable. That's easy. Being actually happy while doing that, that's a whole different game. And that's what this channel is about. And you can totally adjust this equation to also include a good outcome, right? But this is the pain video. And pain is, unfortunately, a lot more powerful. And the way I describe it is that pain is this rocket fuel, this massive tank that gets you out of orbit. If you're a rocket for some reason, let's say you're a rocket, it is a short-term burst of energy, but long-term, you want pleasure to drive you, right? Or positive things. Most success stories that you see, I would argue, they start with some sort of pain, right? Like, my first business was not out of fun. It was because I wanted to be with my girlfriend again at the time, right? And it was a miserable experience, and I never want to repeat that. That sucked. For somebody like Michael Jordan, it may have started because he was rejected early on, or he had to prove himself, or, Walt Disney, he just wanted to build a world that he could escape into because he was abused by his dad and he would literally hit him with a hammer. But long term, I think you can change what drives you, but will you? Right? Because Michael Jordan, I think, even at his final speeches, you could still tell that there was resentment. He wanted to prove people wrong. Whereas somebody like Walt Disney ended up being a great father, and he just loved what he did. We're going to use pain as a tool, not as a way of life, but as a way to change, so that we can then get into what drives us long term. And I'm yet to see somebody who radically changes something because they just really see how awesome it would be. I just don't see it. So let's get into the first practical tool that we can use, which is from this book, and it literally puts the pain equation on steroids. This is a process that Tony Robbins uses in his live events. And before you brush it off as like some motivational BS thing, Tim Ferriss himself, a very practical, also skeptical person, said that he's friends with a high-profile entrepreneur who goes to this event every single year because of this one process, because it makes that much of a difference for him. And the process is inspired by what's in this book. What is this book, you ask? A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Maybe now you know why I didn't tell you what the book is in the beginning, because you would have been like, wait, a Christmas book? That's just a fiction book. What the hell? This isn't even the book. I totally scammed you. You're getting scammed on this channel. When are you learning? This is just, I think this is Jocko Willink. This is from a different book, but I just had to hold something up in the video, okay? So let's get into it. It's A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. That's why this process is called the Dickens process. Quick recap. There's this rich guy. He's a total turd sandwich to everyone. And it's Christmas, and there's all these poor people, and he's rich, and that's bad. And he's visited by 3 ghosts. The ghost of Christmas past, who takes Scrooge back through earlier moments of his life, his lonely childhood, his youthful hopes, the joyful love that he once had but lost because of his growing obsession with money, right? He has all this pain from the past that is associated with you being such a turd sandwich. Then he's visited by the ghost of Christmas present, right? The present tense. And it shows him how there's scenes of people celebrating, and they're celebrating Christmas even though they have a really tough life. And it also shows them how they're talking about Scrooge, the rich, evil turd sandwich guy, but they talk about him with pity and frustration. And then he's visited by the ghost of Christmas yet to come, the future ghost. And it shows him how horrible things will get for him and how he's going to die a lonely, miserable death. He experiences it firsthand. this massive pain of how bad things were, how bad they are right now, and how much worse they're going to get. And it's all associated with him and his behavior that he can't change, his beliefs, his just, turd sandwichness. And it's just all, and it's all linked to his beliefs and his behavior of just being a total turd sandwich. If we look at the equation that I came up with from scratch with no inspiration from anybody else, it massively increased the bad outcome. The perceived likelihood of occurrence went through the roof because he basically experienced it firsthand. It wasn't like this thing that might happen at some point. No, he experiences it right now with the ghosts. There's no time delay because he experiences it right now. And the pain of changing at this point doesn't really matter because once you have a full commitment and okay, this needs to change. I don't care what it takes. I'll make it happen. And then on waking up on Christmas morning, Scrooge is super happy that he's still alive and he transforms instantly. He becomes generous and warm and he turns into a peanut butter jelly sandwich. The Dickens process that Tony Robbins uses at the live events is simply that you choose the belief, the behavior, the vice, the decision that you keep putting off because there is a lack of pain, and you massively increase the pain by looking at the past, by looking at the present, and looking at the future. Because when you miss one of these and you say, you know what, it's bad now, it's probably going to be bad later, but it used to be good, you still have an excuse to stay the same. If you're like, you know what, it used to be bad, it's probably going to be bad, but right now it's fine, same thing. Or if you think, you know what, it's going to be fine in the end, the future, you just discount that, then you keep staying stuck in this middle zone right here. But if the past, present, and future all are horrible, it was bad, it is bad right now, and it's going to get even worse, you're forced to change. So this is a process that involves a ton of visualization and just emotional intensity. Right? And for those of you who are skeptical about visualization because you think it has some law of attraction BS, it's used by Navy SEALs, by Olympic athletes, by salespeople when they want you to buy, right? They get you to visualize the outcome or the bad things, the good things. And if you think about it, we visualize all the time, everything, right? We only live in our heads. Like think about somebody who is deeply depressed. Logically, everything's fine. Their body is intact and they have food, they have shelter, but it is in their minds, the visualizations that they run, that they're stuck in, that makes them depressed. So no matter what, you're already visualizing and it's massively driving your behavior and your beliefs. And the best proof I have for this is, some guys out there might appreciate this. You wake up next to your girlfriend and she just looks at you like she just caught you cheating on her because she did. In her dreams. And then she's mad at you for 2 weeks because she dreamt that you cheated on her, but you didn't actually. And you're paying the price for it anyways. When we visualize something and we viscerally feel it, we can't unsee it. And it massively drives our behavior. And we're doing it all the time anyways with all the decisions you're making, they're based on visualizations. The goal of the process is that throughout these visualizations, you go to the past, the present, and the future and associate massive pain with all these time zones, linking it to the behavior or the decision or the vice that you want to change. Think about how bad you felt when the breakup happened, right? Or how bad you felt when you finally made the decision to quit that vice or step up, whatever it was. That's how bad you want to feel in that moment. It's almost like you want to traumatize yourself out of a belief or a behavior. And you have so much cognitive dissonance that you can't possibly keep living the way you have been without making the change while also having experienced the pain that you experience throughout this process. Cognitive dissonance is just going to do its job and you must change now that you've experienced this pain. And I know this is where I think a lot of therapists and psychologists will go, well, it's not that simple. Da, 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 da. Yes, if you have serious problems, go seek professional help. And there's just a toxic empathy that I see in the world that is just holding people back and hurting them more than it's supporting them, right? For the everyday person I'm talking about, right? Not people with severe issues. I see friends of mine who are surrounded by yes men who are like, oh no, you're totally going to make it happen. No, you don't. You will not make it happen. And I don't believe in you because the way you're showing up and how you live your life, you're not going to get anywhere close to where you keep saying you want to go. So no, I don't believe in you and you will fail. And there's just a slight chance that I'm giving him with my honesty that, yeah, maybe I'm not going to make it happen. Maybe I do need to change. And then maybe it can happen. But this whole thing of like, no, everyone can do it and there's somebody for everyone. No, you're not good enough the way you are right now. Oh, that sounds toxic. Oh, your self-esteem is bad. Blah, blah. Can we be honest here? Can we get real here? Because there's just some people out there, you're just not dateable. You suck. You don't bring anything to the table. And no, you will not find somebody who will treat you the way you want to be treated, because if they treat you that well, they don't deserve you. They deserve somebody better. Oh, you're going to find someone who's going to love you and accepts you for who you are? I hope not, because nobody deserves to be with somebody like you, because you are selfish and you bring nothing to the table and you keep complaining about everything and you don't make anything happen. You take no responsibility. You have to change, period. And it's that slight chance that they see it and they make a change. But I could rant on about this for a long time. Now, this next thing is finding your strongest leverage point, because when you identify what this is, you can make yourself do anything. I think for all of us, there's been this one habit that we thought, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense. And then you learned one piece of information that connected you to something that you truly care about that made you do it and it made it a no-brainer. For example, there's certain friends of mine that if I told them, hey, you should try out meditation because it's good for your mental health, you're going to be more calm, you're going to be more happy, those guys are going to be like, wow, these are all things I don't care about. I want to grow my business. I want to be the best. And the moment I tell them, oh, do you know that some of the top CEOs, they all meditate because it makes them make better decisions and they become just unfazed by anything. It's the absolute mental toughness builder. Immediately their eyes start lighting up and they're like, oh, whoa, like who does it? Oh, Ray Dalio, right? All these billionaire investors, all these top athletes, whatever, right? And boom, they pick up the habit like that. Whereas for other people, if you told them, hey, meditation, there's like some sort of thing that happens to your brain and there's like mirror neurons and it makes you 5 times more attractive to the opposite sex, they're going to pick it up immediately. And one of the beautiful things about humanity is that there's a lot of things that we're not going to do for ourselves, but we do for loved ones. For example, those of you who have kids out there, you may struggle to fix your toxic workaholic habits, right? But the moment you show up to your kids' sports practice for the first time and you see their face light up because finally mom or dad is here and they just light up, you're willing to make a change that you haven't considered before. And then that's when you look for new possibilities and go, do I really need to operate this way for me to achieve all the goals that I want? Or can I have both? It's one of the most powerful questions that I've seen been asked in this leadership program that I did, where it was a very intense training where it's like 30 or 40 people in a room and they share things they've never shared before, right? And they get really real with each other. There's absolute confidentiality. You can't share what's happening in the room. And one of the most powerful questions that the trainers ask you is, who pays the biggest price? Who pays the biggest price for your vice, right? For your habit of being short-tempered or never allowing yourself to rest or always beating yourself up. And it's oftentimes the kids. It's the wife, the husband, the girlfriend, the boyfriend. And what is that for you? What is this leverage point, this fear, this loved one, or this insecurity that you have that if you connected this change to that, you would change? Because it's the one thing that is so delicate and precious that you cannot have it be touched or impacted. It could be something superficial as well. It could be your looks. It could be how you're perceived by others. It could be like, use it as a tool that you have. And again, this is something that you do when you want to influence someone to make a purchasing decision, right? Or you want to lead somebody on your team. You find, what does this person really deeply care about? Their kids, their ego and status, success, making somebody else proud, and you leverage that for behavior change. So we can spot it in other people when we're good at influencing people, but what is that for you? What really drives you? Find the leverage point and use it. And lastly, when nothing else works, this has yet to fail me. I dare say it is guaranteed. It is hyper practical, and this will change your behavior today. And again, the commitment that I made in the beginning, that you make one massive change on this thing that you've been struggling to change for months or even years, it will be achieved if you have the guts to do this. It's not for everyone, but hear me out. Quick example of how I recently used this. Over the holidays, it can get pretty lonely as someone who's new in the US, right? I've been here for 6 years, but I keep forgetting that Thanksgiving happens, and then I hit up my friends 2 days before and they're all out of town because they're visiting their family, and then I sit there by myself and it's lonely and sad and terrible. And when I feel lonely, that's when I tend to end up consuming a lot, right? I don't want to sit by myself in this silence in this room. I want to listen to something. I want to feel like there's someone in the room, so I end up listening to a bunch of podcasts. I end up watching a lot of YouTube videos, and you know how the algorithms work. You just get fully hooked on it. And then I wanted to get back into work mode after Thanksgiving happened, and it was kind of tough to get into it. And I really struggled to kick the habit, which I'm sure we've all been there. And I used my absolute burn the boats move that I always use in this case, which is I tell a friend that I live with or my girlfriend, hey, by the way, tomorrow, if I consume any YouTube or any podcast or whatever I want to get rid of, I give you $1,000. Drastic? Yes. Does it work? Every single time. I've done this at a point too when I wanted to commit to doing ice baths first thing in the morning because we had this vertical freezer, and within the first 15 minutes of waking up, I wanted to be in that ice bath. And I told my friend, hey, if I don't do it in the first 15 minutes and I'll take screenshots and photos, I'll prove it to you, I'll give you $1,000. Without fail, I did it every single day. You could not get me to do that without this, but I made it happen. And the moment I make that accountable decision and that commitment, it's done. I'm not in this weird gray zone anymore where I'm having to resist this maybe just once, maybe just a little bit. No, it's completely out of the question. No willpower needed. I just jacked up the pain a lot, $1,000 for just one little thing. And I'm 100% going to do it. I'm going to lose that $1,000 and it's going to be immediate. It's like done deal. Every single time this has worked. This is the ultimate burn the boats move. And if you don't know what burn the boats is from, it's basically when, I don't know, some conquerors, the Romans, the barbarians, whatever, when they wanted to take a city, they would burn the boats to basically show the guys, okay, we got to take the city right now because we can't go back in the boats and go back home. We must win, right? There's no plan B. And I know there might be some people who are like, hey, I read Atomic Habits and this is not really in the book and this is not really healthy. And long term, you got to enjoy it. Yes, I get it. And this works every single time. If you need to snap out of it quickly, this works. And then from there, you can always figure out the long-term strategy to make that habit stick. But it's like telling someone with severe depression to just take a shower in the morning. You should go work out. They can't even get out of bed. This is the get out of bed card so that they can then go and do these long-term things. And there's some people who go, you know what? I have so much money. It doesn't really matter. This wouldn't work on me because, I have a client who he said he doesn't stick to things like this because he could mess up every day and it would suck, but he'd probably still do it. I simply go, okay, let's make it 10,000. Oh, 10,000. That's unreasonable. That's a bit much, don't you think? Yeah, it is. But you wouldn't fall off anymore, right? You would make the change. You would make it happen. It's like, yeah, but that's a bit much. Yeah, that's the point. If you set up a fine for yourself like this, the key thing is that if you mess up, you must follow through. Because if you don't and you go, no, I'll just let this one slide, everything falls apart because you no longer believe that, this bad thing, the fine, is going to happen because, you let it slide last time. Think of this as the price you're willing to pay to make this change. How much would you be willing to pay per month to change this one thing that you want to change? How much would it be worth it to you? And this is just part of the occasional fee that you got to pay. And also adding to the making it sustainable thing, there's nothing really stopping you from just continuing to do that. Oh, but it shouldn't be this way. I should just have the discipline. But you don't. It's tough. With social media, there's algorithms of the top engineers who will keep you hooked. You will not discipline your way out of it. Chances are you need tools like this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sure, long-term it'd be great if you just logically okay, I no longer get hooked on these vices, but I think it's a fairy tale that we tell ourselves that it just should be this way. And every time I've set up a fine like this, it's always worked. It's always the thing that I can fall back on that I know is going to work. And it's great. Like the next day, it's fixed. This way, I can make myself do anything. And now I'm planning on, hey, let me actually add this for multiple things that I want to do. Just clear accountability. I would pay $5,000 a month to an accountability coach who holds me accountable. So why not do this, save myself the $5,000 a month, and then occasionally I might have a fine that I need to pay, but it's worth it. I will get so much more out of it. And if you don't want to use money, there's plenty of other sadistical ways that you can put your back against the wall. I heard this story from this one entrepreneur once who told his kids, we're going to go to Disneyland in 3 months. It's going to be amazing. And he would hype them up and they would be so excited. Yay, we go to Disneyland. And then he went to his co-founders and said, if I don't make these cold calls, let's say it was like 300 a day, then I'm not taking my kids to Disneyland. So he would just come home, hype up the kids, and just think in the back of his mind, oh man, I cannot let them down. Because again, he found his leverage point. He knew I can't disappoint my kids. They're going to lose trust in me for a long time, maybe forever. Maybe they're going to be at therapy at some point and be like, oh, my dad, he used to promise these things, he never did it. And then he burned the boats and he made it happen, right? So use your kids as leverage. Another example is from Sharan Srivatsa, who now works with Hormozi, and he started this 5 a.m. club where he wanted accountability to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and he would basically host a Zoom call for people who wanted to come on. And he first started with a couple of friends, and they ended up inviting a bunch of people. And now it's over thousands of entrepreneurs and business owners who tune into the conference call at 5 a.m. And he's the main guy. And I think he said that he only missed 3 times in over 10 years or something like that. So if nothing works, you can always set up these artificial ways to burn the boats. And if you want to use pleasure and joy to drive you for long-term success, so you can achieve your goals faster as well, you must find your zone of genius, which I talk about in this video here, so that you actually enjoy the process of doing it instead of just chasing results. And there's 2 significant moments in your life: the moment you're born and the moment you find your zone of genius. So go check it out. I'll see you over there. Stay driven.